Hi, everybody. Mitch Tannenbaum here. Thanks for joining me today. This is the security news update for February 25th, 2024. In the Security and Privacy Alerts Department, there are apparently AI apps for girlfriends and boyfriends. I wasn't aware of that, but apparently they're pretty popular to the tune of 100 million downloads. Some security researchers did a little testing and discovered that the girlfriend app sent out 24,354 ad tracker beacons in the first 60 seconds of running. So if that's not enough to scare you, of course, who knows where that's going? Likely China is one of the large recipients of that, but also probably Facebook and Google and some other folks. Also in the security and privacy alerts, the Nevada Attorney General has decided after 2 years to go sue Meta for encrypting messages for kids. I'm not exactly sure that I understand what the issue is here. Obviously, from Meta's standpoint, they say, well, you can always go to the user's device and look at the message, which is certainly true. But I'm guessing maybe the problem is that they want to do wiretaps, and if it's end-to-end encrypted, they can't do wiretaps. Perhaps they're trying to build a case against somebody who they think is stalking kids. Not clear. But this is, Meta has been encrypting messages for 2 years now. Up until recently, until several months ago, it's been optional. You had to turn it on. Now that a couple of months ago, they made it the default. So maybe that's what they're complaining about. Maybe the Attorney General just finally realized that they turned it on. Not clear. He filed a motion on February 20th asking for an emergency hearing, like the next day. The judge said, no, we'll wait till next week. So, but in any case, they are going to hear the case. We'll see then at that point what's going on. We'll see how much of the story they have to reveal in order to get the judge to even listen to them. But I guess the story is probably that they're trying to do a wiretap on somebody and they can't do that. So we shall see where that goes. But the good news is that Meta probably, if there is any good news there, Meta probably has more lawyers and better lawyers than the Nevada Attorney General does. So we'll see what happens there. Next in the software and hardware to check out, some fascinating software. OpenAI, that brought us ChatGPT, has released a new piece of software called Sora. Basically, it's what ChatGPT is to text, it is to video. It's not yet available in the general public. They're giving it to researchers to play with at this point. But think about this. What if you were to go off and type in some text into Sora's prompt box and say, several giant woolly mammoths approach, treading through a snowy meadow. Their long woolly fur lightly blows in the wind as they walk. Snow-covered trees and dramatic snow-capped mountains in the distance. Mid-afternoon light with wispy clouds and a sun high in the distance creates a warm glow. The low camera view is stunningly capturing the large furry mammal with beautiful photography and depth of field. And then a few seconds later, you have a video. That seems pretty impressive. Now, obviously, you could do a lot of mischief with that, and we shall see what happens with regard to that. On the other hand, it could be super useful, obviously not to the video creation industry. It's a disaster for them, but that's the way that goes sometimes. But to the business community and people, it's pretty amazing. In the important issues and patches department, Joomla, which is a very popular content management system, has revealed that there are some serious bugs. Is kind of one core bug that exposes multiple vulnerabilities, and it allows for remote code execution, which means that if you're using Joomla, you ought to patch now. Also in the patch department, ConnectWise, which is a tool that both MSPs, managed service providers, and companies use to do a lot of different things, including remote desktop support. They have announced that they have what they call an extremely critical bug. Extremely critical bugs are worse than just plain old vanilla critical bugs, but they have an extremely critical bug, which bypasses authentication. I can see why they would say that might be extremely critical. There's another bug they're patching at the same time, which only rates 8.4 out of 10. The extremely critical bug rates 10 out of 10. So certainly if your MSP uses ConnectWise, you need to verify that they have patched it. Note this only applies to the self-hosted version of ConnectWise. If you're using the cloud version of ConnectWise, they've already patched their own software. So that's a good thing. Next, AI and plagiarism. Who would have figured? There's a company called CopyLeaks that detects plagiarism, and they ran it against the output of GPT 3.5. They said about 60% of the output from ChatGPT is plagiarized. And that's not a big surprise because that's really kind of what it does. The report said that 45.7% of all output contained identical text, because that's what they're doing, right? They're ingesting text and they're spitting it back to you. 27.4% contained minor changes. Another 46% had paraphrased text. So, what they're basically saying is what ChatGPT does is it consumes text and it spits it back out to you. So no big surprise there. Of course, if you are the owner of the copyright, you might have a different view of that. And there obviously are a lot of lawsuits going on right now. We'll see if the courts can figure that out, but I'm sure it'll take, 5 years or more. In the legislative and legal department, score 1 for the good guys. Doesn't happen that often, but score 1 for the good guys. U.S. and U.K. authorities have seized the darknet websites run by Lockbit. This is a super prolific ransomware company. I guess it's a company, organization. I don't know what you want to call it. They claim to have hacked more than 2,000 companies, extorted more than $120 million. The feds have posted their own stuff on those servers now, which gives away some free decrypting tools and stuff. They arrested 2 people, but more importantly, they have frozen more than 200 cryptocurrency sites. They haven't said how much those cryptocurrency sites are worth, but hopefully it's a lot. These are sites that they think are tied to the gang. They've also unsealed indictments against a bunch of Russians. Of course, they'll never come to justice. If they stay in Russia, it's highly unlikely that Mr. Putin is going to turn them over. On the other hand, hackers do stupid things because they think they're bulletproof, and they go to countries that are friendly to the United States, and lo and behold, they wind up with a free pair of stainless steel bracelets and a free plane ride back to the United States. So we shall see what happens there, but good for them. The fact that they have frozen a bunch of cryptocurrency accounts, we shall see how that all works, but that's good. That's good. But the problem is it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, and for every one that they do win, they lose 10 others. Next, the Department of Transportation and the White House are trying to tackle Chinese threats to U.S. port security. The Chinese make a lot of the infrastructure, like cranes that are used in the ports. They transmit a bunch of data back to China. The U.S. is not terribly keen on this. They have already banned some of the companies, but they're trying to replace some of the equipment that's already in ports. Also, in addition to that, there's software which comes from Chinese companies. So it's a big challenge, but at least they're working to try to cut down the risk there. And of course, obviously, ports are considered critical infrastructure. And it'll be nice if we had some degree of confidence that the Chinese couldn't disrupt port operations whenever they wanted to. Next, in the Education Department, CISA and its friends at the FBI and EPA have released guidance for securing drinking water systems. The challenge is that nobody has any authority to force anybody to do anything. So the best they can do is try to cajole and plead with these guys. The problem that the water systems have, they don't have any money, they don't have any staff, they don't have any expertise. We've seen this time and time again. We've seen a number of water systems compromised, and but the sheer luck, nobody's died yet. So the government is trying one more attempt. And the problem is that there's a lot of these water systems that are very small water systems. There's one near me that maybe supports 500 families, and it's run by 3 guys, and I think one of them is a volunteer on top of it. So they have no expertise, they have no money, they have no ability. The good news is that at least for this critical infrastructure segments, CISA is providing some tools, free tools for small water systems, which is where the biggest problem is. But they don't have anybody to go off and run them and use them and understand what they mean and make changes. And, this particular water system I was just talking about, they don't even know where their pipes run. So, they had a leak a couple of weeks ago. They spent a week digging holes in the ground, trying to figure out where their pipes were. So, I think it's a big challenge. In the breaches department, the Black Hat hacking group is taking credit for both the Loan Depot, that's a mortgage lender, and Prudential Financial Services attacks. And they said that they're still inside of Prudential. I'm not sure whether Prudential would agree with that. But curiously, and this is kind of, worst case, nightmare for a company, they said that they're thinking about giving away the data from Prudential for free to journalists because they want the journalists to investigate financial wrongdoing. Is there any wrongdoing? I have no clue. Does Prudential want these journalists shining a bright light on their private data? Probably not, I wouldn't think. So that's not great. On the other side of that, in Pennsylvania, Washington County decided that they had to pay a $350,000 ransom after they got attacked. They hired an intermediary to do that. That's not really going to help them in some sense. The law is pretty clear that if you give $350,000 to terrorists, the Department of Justice is not going to be your friend. Hopefully they were smart enough and the intermediary skilled enough that they went to the DOJ and explained why they had to give them the money. And the DOJ said, okay, go for it. They were down for several weeks, and I'm guessing their backup sucked. Don't know the details, but nonetheless, the county, which is a small county, is now $350,000 poorer. Whether their insurance company is willing to pay for that, don't know. Whether they had insurance, don't know. But anyway, state of the universe. Next, there's a vendor who provides I assume, cloud-based platform to ophthalmologists. So that's, the practice management software that doctors use to run their practice. They had a breach. They have 120 ophthalmology practices as their clients, which is, relatively small in the grand scheme of things, but they had data on over 2 million patients. So now these practices are going to have to deal with angry patients whose data is compromised out there, whatever, in the public. And I'm sure at least some of these guys will get sued. I'm sure that class action lawyers are just getting ready for suing these guys. So, right. And last, in the breaches department, hackers stole nearly $10 million from the founder's personal account of this video game company. The company is Axie Infinity. The founder is Jeff Zerlin. The hackers stole $9.7 million. He's admitted that they stole it from him. I'm not sure whether, $9.7 million is pocket change for him, possibly. But nonetheless, and we also don't know how they got in, whether this was just a user error or software bug or whatever. Next, FTC is going to start going after companies, they say, that mine user data after changing their policies. As AI becomes the hot topic of the day, everybody just is looking for every bit of data that they can mine to train their models. And what better data to mine than the data that you already have? Unfortunately, as far as the FTC is concerned, if you told customers you weren't going to use their data to do that, and then you decide, oh, I'm just going to change my terms of service and then use the data, not so quick, guys. That's not a good plan. So the FTC is watching. We'll see what happens. Next, there's this concept called technical debt or software debt. It's basically the bugs that have been around for a while. You know that they're there. You haven't gotten around to fixing. Veracode is a software testing company that makes software that allows developers to go figure out how buggy their software is, not whether it is buggy, because almost all software is buggy, how buggy. And they've got some metrics now that they've released on how buggy software is. It's not a pleasant situation. It's not a big surprise. Unfortunately, I wish it was a big surprise, but it's not a big surprise. And the result of that is that the bad guys are winning. So, the bad news is that, they said, I forget what the numbers are, 60% of companies had buggy software. These are the good guys. These are the guys that are actually paying money to Veracode to go test their software. What about the folks that are not paying any money and are not doing a good job of testing? Their software's probably worse. So not good. Next, what happens when you combine AI, quantum computing, and crypto? It's not a great mix is the answer. We've all been worried what happens when quantum computers come around and all the encryption that we've done and all the encrypted data that the Chinese and the Russians have collected over the years now becomes fair game because the quantum computers can do the math to reverse the encryption keys. And some people have said, oh, well, not a big problem. Encryption is a long time off, or quantum computing is a long time off. Well, researchers have now demonstrated that they have the ability to compromise post-quantum crypto using pre-quantum computers. Not a great thing, and they're doing that using AI. So another great feature of AI, but makes us, unfortunately, somewhat less safe. And last but not least, the security news bites for this week. NSA Cyber Director Rob Joyce, who's a great guy, is retiring from the agency after 34 years. Probably deserves a rest because that's 34 years of a lot of freaking stress. But who is going to be replacing him is not clear. They've got some big shoes to fill. Influencer Crypto Rover has been accused of and charged with a pump and dump scheme for pumping up the price of crypto and then selling his stake in crypto. Not a big surprise. The last article was on encryption crypto. This is on cryptocurrency crypto. Next, the European Parliament, one of their subcommittees, their phones may have been hacked. There's evidence that they've been hacked. And apparently some folks are returning their $3,500 Apple goggles for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is, it's kind of that putting that thing on your head is like, strapping 3 iPhone 15 Maxes to your head. Kind of heavy. People say it makes them nauseous. So, I think this technology is great technology. I'm not sure it's worth $3,500. That's a whole other conversation. But also, we're in a boat where, people are going to have to figure out maybe the next generation and generation after that are really where this actually gains some steam. Is what we're going to see here is some early adopters who are developing software for it, and the more software that exists for it, the more appealing the goggles are going to be. And then last week, AT&T had a nationwide cell outage. It lasted, I don't know, half a day, 3/4 of a day, something like that. And AT&T is now offering consumers a $5 credit for the outage, a big whoop. And businesses are not offering anybody any money. But it turns out that things like 911 systems and other business critical operations were affected too. So those guys don't get any money, unfortunately. So with that, that's all I have for this time. Until next time, stay safe. Thanks for listening. And if we can help you, please contact us. Thanks.
Thank you for watching. For more information or to purchase this or any other of our board or executive services, visit us at cybersecurity.com. Call us at 303-887-5864 or email us at rh@cybersecurity.com. Goodbye.